Greetings, YouTubers. Let's see, what do I want to say after that? This is episode 1 of my brand spanking new series that I just invented about 48 hours ago called Understanding God. The inspiration for this little series is a radio show that I was listening to over the weekend. I don't remember the guy who does it. He's probably famous and I have no idea. But we listened to this little Christian radio station that airs all types of different programming, and I'm not usually up and at him at 7 in the morning or whatever time it was. I think it was like 9 in the morning. But he has this little show where he just answers questions. People call in and they call about the questions and conundrums they have about maybe something in scripture or just something about Christianity in general. And I think when I was listening to it, there was a lady that had called in and she was just confused why Christians seem to feel like their religion was the only religion or the right way. So it's stuff like that. And this type of stuff has always interested me. Not just the questions themselves, but the people who ask them, and just the desire to want to be there to answer someone's question has just always been with me, even since I was like a little kid. And God has always been kind of an easy concept for me. I just get Him. I get the gist. I grew up in a Christian home, which I'm very thankful for. And of course, when you're a child, you sort of accept the things that you're taught. Not only did I take to those things, but as I grew older and you get more curious and the world calls you to question yourself a little more, I would do that. I would think, yeah, maybe what about this and what about that and what about this, and all that questioning was really more for other people, because I always had this, hey baby, by the way, I'm a stay-at-home mom and I have 3 little babies. That one is 1.5 years old. Anyway, so yeah, I always had this sort of teaching desire. This is the stuff that I would sit around and daydream about, is if somebody asked me a question, what would I say? How would I word it? And I just wanted people to understand. And I really just had a burden for people who would walk away confused. Because the teacher or whoever was in power was just not doing a good job of satisfying someone's genuine curiosity. Time went by, I went to college, got a degree, kind of dabbled in the idea of professionally teaching or doing some kind of ministry where I would be able to use this, what I assumed was a gift or obsession or whatever it turned out to be. Something that really just fueled me and drove me. And I just never was able to. I just couldn't break through. I'm kind of an introverted person, not really one of those people that's going to try to upstage someone else or get through all the droves of people that need to have a deep-seated need for attention. I'm just if no one wants to listen to what I have to say, then it's fine. I'll just go home and read some stuff. I don't know. Thankfully, YouTube is the perfect outlet for people like me who are lonely and by themselves, but they have a computer. That was just kind of my introduction. What I would like to have happen is basically just to open this YouTube channel up to people who have questions about God, and I'm going to do my best to answer them. Don't have a PhD or anything. I got a master's degree, if that makes you feel any better, but I'm not this age-old person of ministry, but I've got Google, and I really like to answer people's questions. And this guy that I had listened to over the weekend, he really did a good job of being patient with people who had these questions and really trying to answer them without patronizing them, and really having a sense of diplomacy for those people who are really calling just to be combative, really. He was mindful that there's always somebody listening. He just had he had a good way of answering the questions, and that's really rare to find. I consider myself one of those people, although I can be a little hot-headed or whatever, which is beside the point, but that's why I don't have a radio show, folks. This is YouTube, where you can edit your things and you can take time to think about what you're going to say and then say it. So I'm not so good on the fly. Pretty sure you figured that out by now. But if you send me your questions, I will hinge a show around one particular topic that I start to get, or whatever like that. You can use the comment section, but I prefer if you maybe message me with those, because the comment section tends to be sort of like a swamp, or a pool, if you will, of ideas and nonsense. And I don't like to wade in that pool very long. So if you really have something that you genuinely want to let me have a stab at, please send me a message, and we'll get this party started. Okay, so for the first episode, I want to focus on the gospel, because basically the whole reason why I'm doing this is to get people to understand God to a well enough degree that they can trust the Bible and trust the gospel, because the gospel is the truth. I know that is a hotly refuted subject in the world, and that's fine, because not everybody knows the truth. Whatever you believe the truth to be, not everybody is going to be hip to that. So that doesn't have any bearing on what I believe. I really just want to talk about the way that the gospel is presented these days, and it always changes over time. The hellfire and brimstone thing is something that people always object to because it's unpleasant. And so because it's unpleasant, people don't want to hear about it, or they have a negative reaction to it. And they sort of perceive the gospel like it's a sales pitch. You know, hell is a poor sales pitch. If we were selling something, then yes, it would be a poor sales pitch. But if we were telling you the truth, then it's information. And people tend to get outraged about it as though they are a consumer making a decision to purchase Christianity or not. But really, think of it like an apartment building. And you live in this very, very, very large apartment building. And the apartment building is infested with this mold, this overgrown, cancerous mold in your apartment. And it's causing all types of problems. It's causing people to have tumors, to have internal bleeding, to have external bleeding, all types of things. It's causing neurological effects in some people. Some people it's causing death. Okay. And, maybe this mold or whatever it is, this growth is undetectable, to the naked eye or something like that. It doesn't have a smell. It doesn't have, all it has is side effects, okay? And let's say that the government decides they're going to shut down this apartment complex because it's toxic. It's making people sick. And they've known about it for a long time, and they are resolved to just demolish it and build a new place. So you get a letter from the government that says, okay, hey, we are going to demolish this apartment complex because it's not fit for anybody to live in. We're going to get rid of all of it, and we're going to rebuild it. And when we rebuild it, you are going to be able to live in the apartment complex free of charge. We're not going to charge anybody who's had to deal with this any money. We're going to build it. We're going to customize it to their liking. We're going to compensate them for having to live in this apartment complex. We're going to put them up someplace free of charge while we're building it. And then after we're building it, we're going to, it's going to be something that's going to be built to last like their entire life. And we're going to do that. But what we need from you is we need you to fill out this form, send it back to us, let us know what apartment you live in, whatever, all your information, so we have that down. Okay? And anybody who doesn't fill out the form will not be part of this deal. We're just going to assume that you don't live here anymore or whatever, and we're just going to tear this place down. So, that's great news, right? That's great news. You've been suffering in this place. You kind of didn't know why you were suffering, what was going on. But the government is already on the case, and they're going to fix this for you. That is great news, right? Well, let's say some of your neighbors haven't got the memo. Okay? If they don't get the memo, they are not going to have a place to live because the government needs your information to know that you are still interested. They need you to fill out the form to show, yes, I still live here. Sign me up for that. So obviously, logically, practically, what would you do? You would go to your neighbors and at least make sure that they got it. This is not micromanaging. This is not deciding, making decisions for them and going, well, what is it to you that they can live their lives however they want? Okay, but this is kind of a thing that's kind of important. So I think it's worth kind of going to your neighbor and saying, hey, did you get that thing from the government? Because I got it, and they're saying that they're going to, completely demolish this place and they're going to build us a new place. Did you get that? You know what I'm talking about? That is worth opening your mouth to your neighbor and seeing if they are in on the same information. That is all the gospel is. That's what makes it good news. It doesn't sound like good news the way that we present it because we're opening up with talking about people's flaws and how they need Jesus, and they don't understand why they need Jesus. So they're just you're just offending them left or right. And I'm not talking about, I understand that this is a very tough job that we're doing. It's a very tough job, and not everybody is open to anybody's input on anything these days. So it's even doubly difficult, and especially when you're just getting abused by people who are, you don't know what's going on in each individual person's life or how many Christians have approached them in the past, so you don't know what you're going to get when you go up to them. But to all those people who are wondering about Christianity and what's the big deal and why we feel like we need to keep harping going on and on about this, even though people have seemed to have made their decision, it's because this is kind of a big deal. And if you don't know about it, you're going to be really, really SOL. It's going to be bad. So this is why we try as hard as we do. And also because when you become a Christian, the love of God begins to grow in you. And you begin to feel, in whatever measure, a compassion for your fellow man and for what God is feeling, and you want God to be reunited and reconciled with all of his creation. So that's why we do what we do. That's why we continue to preach. And I'll say that should be the essence of what we do and why. Now sometimes that gets lost in translation over the years. You can, your soul gets calloused, and then you turn around after 20, 30 years of being a missionary or whatever, and you're like, wait, what was I doing? And why am I doing this? Because I just feel like crap, and nothing is happening. But that is the essence of why a Christian does what they do. They're just an ambassador to God who says, go out and tell the world and preach the good news. Tell these people that this world is passing away. I am doing away with this world, and I'm going to replace everything with a new heaven and new earth. And if they want to be a part of that, they need to come and join this kingdom and not be a part of the world. In my analogy, I don't know if you caught that, the world represents the apartment complex. The government represents, the heavenly government, God's government. We're the tenants of the apartment complex, and the horrible mold that is infested is sin and all of its agents, as it were. A lot of people that object to the gospel are people who feel like this world, this apartment complex, will never pass away, and this is all that we have, and we need to make it a better place, even though we're going to die and go to, nowhere. We need to continue to make this apartment complex the best dang apartment complex it can be. And there's nothing after this. And to focus on anything but this apartment complex is kind of foolish, because this is the here and now, and this is all that will ever be. Now, if that's your paradigm, it's a very hard paradigm to crack, and I can understand why people would object to Christianity, because it just sounds like a complete non sequitur. And, eventually my analogy